All right, here we are back again with a March Madness edition of the MozPod. We actually have a name for this podcast this year. Me and Cason are back again. Cason, the absolute expert analyst in March Madness, basically the John Rothstein, but less autistic, much less autistic. Anyway, so. Currently going on is the UNC and San Diego State game, and that game is pretty much over at halftime. It's been over. The real game we need to talk about is the St. Francis and Alabama State game. They 68-68 with like 2 point something left on the clock. Hail Mary pass, inbounded, dropped at the end of the floor, and then picked up. Nice little bucket with point 0.7 left. Alabama State wins. So now Alabama State will have to face Auburn. So that's where we're going to start out with our live bracket right now. Auburn, Alabama State. Um, no explanation needed on this. I know what we're both going. So
Yep.
we're going to go with the more intriguing matchup, probably the most intriguing 8-9 matchup of Louisville. I know I'm probably going to get some hate if anyone actually watches that the way that I just said that, and Creighton. So, Kason, who do you got in this one?
This is a pretty tough matchup, being that this matchup's in Lexington, Kentucky. I know we won't get hate for saying it like that. We're not from the South. But I'm gonna go Creighton in this game. I just kind of like the way they're playing right now, and I think Cockbrenner's just an absolute matchup nightmare down low. I really hate Creighton's point guard, Stephen Ashworth, or whatever his first name is. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but he might have one of the most punchable faces in America, Tim.
Yeah, that's fair. It's almost like he's the current Christian Laettner of the 90s for you or something, even though he's not at all the player that Christian Laettner was. Um, I'm going to take Louisville in this one just because why on earth are they only an 8 seed? That is beyond me. Okay, this whole tournament for the seeding kind of sucks in general. If like that's the my initial reaction to it. I was like, in past years, I've actually been like kind of excited by a tournament, which like obviously I'm excited by it, but it's like these seedings are horrible. Like Michigan wins the Big Ten. I'm the biggest Michigan hater ever too, but they win the Big Ten and they get a 5 seed. Purdue as a 4 seed. Why? We'll get into more of these later. But Louisville as an 8 seed, I think they're just wanting to set Auburn up for failure with this by having to play one of these two teams is basically what it is. But I don't know, Louisville in that ACC tournament really did impress me. And our beloved Chucky Hepburn, you know, he went off in that tournament, even though, on that one inbound pass or the one rebound that Stanford got, passed it right to him and gave him the game-winning shot. But I don't know, I do like this matchup. It's probably one of my favorite matchups of the weekend in general, but I'm going to go Louisville on this one. That'll take us
Yeah,
to what I know is our favorite little quadrant here of the 12 seeded UC San Diego in their first eligible season for the tournament. By the way, UC San Diego is the only school to ever have two schools, men and or two teams, men and women, make it into the tournament in their inaugural season. So, a little fun fact for you there. UC San Diego and Michigan. I'm going to take UC San Diego in this one. I know that there's been a lot of hype around them all season, and I usually don't fall into those traps, but I did watch that team in their conference tournament, and they looked pretty freaking good. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to ride with them. And Michigan won the Big Ten, and we always know about those teams in the Big Ten. They play really well in the tournament, and it does not translate to the actual tournament itself. I could totally see that happening here. I mean, they do have a couple good players on their roster, but I'm still going to go with the 12-5 upset in this one, just like James Madison against Wisconsin last year.
I'm also going UC San Diego. I think honestly, if Michigan's against any other 12 seed, even Colorado State, who we'll talk about more later. I probably pick Michigan just due to the sheer size that they have on this team of the two 7-footers and one of them's handling the ball. But Michigan's 302nd in the nation in turning the ball over, so they turn it over quite a bit. And guess who's number one at forcing turnovers this year?
That is true. That's a good point to make. I totally forgot to make that point, and this is just one of those. This little quadrant here. It's just like I think the lower seed is going to come out of this because then you have Texas A&M and M and Yale, and I possibly am the nation's biggest Wade Taylor the fourth hater. I think that man is not good whatsoever. I mean, he's an absolute free throw merchant, which you could say that about certain people on certain teams, but um yeah, that man, remember him shooting himself out of the gym last year? I could totally see that happening again this year with which I will say, Yale did struggle against Cornell in the Ivy League championship, which why was Cornell even in that game? Like seriously, Cornell, we about had Cornell in this tournament. But no, I am gonna go with Yale in an upset in this one as well, which will give us a nice little 12-13 matchup to make the Sweet 16. Who are you going with in this?
I've been talking up Yale probably more than any other upset team. They did struggle with Cornell, which I was a little surprised with. They've been a really good offense all year, and they're one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the nation, which I think is going to be interesting considering Houston's the best offensive rebounding team in the nation. And that'll probably settle the game just in rebounding, honestly, because if A&M's not getting any offensive rebounds, and we both know how much Wade Taylor's going to chuck that ball from deep when he's contested, and it's going to miss. He's going to shoot like 5 of 18 at best. And if A&M's getting all those boards, they're probably going to win this game. But if they can't and Yale rebounds really well, I think Yale wins. I mean, Yale's got a legit big man who's 6'11", I think, 7 foot. They have that dude with the long P last name who was just lights out shooter, one of the best free throw shooters in the nation. And they had the Ivy League Player of the Year at shooting guard, I think, and he was a pretty good slasher. So
They have what could be one of the white boys at the tournament, just the white boy that strokes. You know, there's a couple of those guys that we'll get to in a little bit as well. But yeah, so we're both gonna go with the 12-13 in the next one. So that's interesting. Then we got Ole Miss against most likely North Carolina. By the time that I edit this, I'm sure I'll put up the North Carolina logo. Um, North Carolina does not belong in this tournament. We both know that. Everyone in the entire nation knows that. Um, I think it wouldn't be college basketball unless they force them to be in the tournament, which we have seen in recent past. These 11 seeds that do get to play the playing game are always at an advantage because they get that extra game, which you would view it as a disadvantage. But sometimes it's not, especially when there's a team like Ole Miss who did not play a great SEC tournament and has been off for a while. So I am going to take Ole Miss though, just because I want to say UNC too in this one because I could just totally see them doing that and then trying to prove the nation wrong about, oh, we shouldn't have belonged in the tournament. But no, I'm just going to go with the simple answer and pick Ole Miss in this. The SEC's been pretty freaking good at basketball this season. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
I'm actually going to differ with you here. I'm going to go UNC. I agree they shouldn't be in the tournament, but I think 111 seed is going to make a little run in here. I'm looking on Ken Palm, and Mississippi is the 26th ranked team in the nation. North Carolina's 33rd, and they're pretty identical in most of their stats. North Carolina's a little better on offense, Mississippi a little better defense. Mississippi's a little bit more lucky. And I think when you look at a lot of stats, these are going to be two pretty evenly matched teams, honestly. And I just think this is an 11's going to make a little run. I think especially with, we're in the second half just starting, and North Carolina's up more right now than San Diego State has points. I think this is going to be a big confidence boost to them, which I don't like because looking at this next matchup of Iowa State Lipscomb, I'm going Iowa State. I don't really have to explain much here. I feel like Iowa State's been a good team all year, but without their point guard, as much of an Iowa State homer as I've been this year, that kind of scares me a little bit of a team that could, come off to a big win and, a big morale booster win here against San Diego State and then possibly against Ole Miss. I mean, think about it, we're also a free throw violation from this team beating a very banged up Duke, but still Duke and playing Louisville. So they're hot right now. They've shown when they get hot, they can make a deep run with a lot of the same players because for some reason these players have stuck around for like 5 seasons, I think,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
just disgusting. I think R wasn't RJ Davis on that team,
yeah.
that first team in 2019.
Yes. This man has been. Sometimes we need to just look at the IDs of people and be like, all right, you're too old for college, get out. Um,
Tell him to put the fries in the
yes,
bag,
literally
Tim.
put the fries in the bag, RJ. But same with you, Caleb Love. We'll get to you in a second. But um, Lipscomb
Caleb
is
Love's just the more
actually
fun version of RJ.
true. Lipscomb is actually the number one 14 over 3 picked upset as of right now. And I have not watched any Lipscomb basketball, obviously. Is Lipscomb in Tennessee?
Yeah, Nashville.
Okay. That's about the only thing that I know about Lipscomb. So I'm not going to pick their team, obviously. But I will say, Iowa State did lose to one of the worst college basketball teams, which is currently playing in the NIT. And I'm currently drinking an Irish coffee out of this, my alma mater. But yeah, Iowa State I think is very fraudulent. I know that you said you've been big on them all year, but I don't know. And I know Dylan Gross would disagree with me because he's a big Iowa State guy, but I just never trust them in March, and I'm not going to this year either. I am going to pick them this round, but they're not making it out of that. Maybe not even out of the weekend, but maybe they will. Um, an intriguing 7-10 matchup here is going to be Marquette and New Mexico. New Mexico's got some really good players, so does Marquette. I mean, it's Cam Jones against oh, what is his name? His name's an alliteration. I can't remember what his name is for New Mexico, but he is really good. Um, I'm going to take Marquette in this, although I could easily see this game going either way. I just think at the end of the day, you have Cam Jones. Cam Jones is probably the best player on the court in that game. Um, so I am going to take Marquette in that, and I always have to take Marquette in at least one game every March in the tournament.
Yeah, I'm going Marquette as well. I want to pick New Mexico here with how much Marquette's just kind of fallen, but Marquette usually wins a game in the tourney before they just utterly collapse in one of these next two rounds. Cam Jones is one of the best players, and I think he's good enough to beat New Mexico. I just don't trust many Mountain West teams when it kind of gets to this time of year. They always seem to put three, four, five teams in March, and only like one advances usually, if that. But yeah, I like Marquette to advance here. Interesting little caveat though is the New Mexico head coach's father beat Marquette 3 times this year. So
Really?
Mr. Rick.
Yeah, that is true. Um, I totally forgot that his son did coach there. So maybe Marquette doesn't stand a chance, but we both picked Marquette. So then we're gonna go to Michigan State and Bryant. Bryant no longer has Doug Edert, by the way, or Edert, however you say it, March Madness hero for St. Peter's, who essentially ended his career by transferring to Bryant for whatever reason. Um, Michigan State. I've seen this story before where they are the 2 seed and lose to a 15. However, this is too good of a Michigan State team. They're not going to lose this game, um, which sets up for an intriguing Marquette and Michigan State border battle matchup in the next round. But yeah, I'm going Michigan State. I don't want to bet against Tom Izzo in March.
No, I think Bryant's the second lowest ranked 15 on Ken Palm too. They're all right. I mean, they're just not gonna beat Michigan State. And I mean, Michigan State's been playing really good ball outside of their loss to Wisconsin, which could have gone either way there at the end of that game for how sloppy Wisconsin kind of played. But Yeah, they're gonna win, and to get ahead of it, I'm picking Florida. There's not gonna be a 116 this year. The ones are just way too good.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Don't even need to talk about Norfolk State. I know what they had that one year that they upset somebody, but it's not going to be this year. Florida is the hottest team in basketball right now. So, yeah, nothing to speak of there. I feel like there's not really much to speak of in this game either. I think OU is very overseeded in this. I don't know how they got a 9 seed, but it looks like it's just, I mean, this UConn team is definitely not the team that we've seen the last 3 years. But at the same time, OU gets a 9 seed for beating a very mid Georgia team. Yes, I said it. Chris Torrance, fight me. Very mid Georgia team. But yeah, UConn should shoot OU out of the gym, I would think, in this one. So I'm going to go UConn in the 8-9.
I'm going UConn too. I think they're better than Oklahoma regardless. UConn's kind of intriguing because it's like they can't put a full game together, but it's like they'll put halves of games together. And in halves of games, they look like they're a top 5 to 10 team. And then the other half of the game, they look like they're about the 400th best team in the nation, counting D2. So, yeah, they're a little interesting. I think if they would have got a better draw for a second round, um, I'd have more faith. We'll come back to that here a little later.
Yeah.
Memphis, Colorado State. This is going to be one of my most intriguing matchups of the entire weekend. I saw Colorado State's actually favored in this game,
I have seen that too.
which is surprising to me that they're coming in. They're coming in really hot. I've actually, I've done a few of these other brackets. I've gone Colorado State in a few brackets, gone Memphis in a few ones. As much as I really want to go Colorado State here, I'm going Memphis. I think I've already picked an 11, a 12, a 13. Granted, my 11 was North Carolina, which kind of counts, kind of not. They should be like a 14 if we're going by the attorney, but they're in it. They're hot. Don't like it. Already gone UC San Diego, already gone Yale. I want to go Colorado State so very badly here, but you almost never see two 12s win. And running the gauntlet to make the tourney in the Mountain West is not the same as running the gauntlet in the actual tourney. Memphis kind of came out on fire in that AAC tourney there for a little bit. They got some good players, and as much as I really want to pick Colorado State again, we never trust the Mountain West, Tim.
Yep, that's exactly why I'm also going to go Memphis because there's always that one really hyped up lower seeded team. And I feel like this year that is both Colorado State and McNeese, which neither of those two I'm picking. I don't want to fall into that trap like that. Which Memphis also has our beloved Tyrese Hunter and PJ Haggerty too, which PJ Haggerty the other day, scored 44 and set an American Conference record. So I'm gonna go with Memphis in this one. I
Tim, you're
cannot
forgetting
believe
about one player at Memphis too. Their center, Dane
yeah,
Danger.
danger, yeah. That is true. I mean, and I think why they're the underdogs in this is because I think I saw one of their players is hurt or something or sitting out. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, it's the point guard we both love, who I literally just forgot his name already, Tyrese Hunter.
Oh, Tyrese Hunter. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
know if he was playing or not for sure, but that just means PJ Haggerty's going to score 40 again in my mind. So I'm going to go Memphis. Next one, Maryland and Grand Canyon. I was not surprised to see Grand Canyon win their conference. I know a lot of people were high on Utah Valley this year, but Grand Canyon once again wins that conference. Gets a 13 seed. I feel like they are a bit overseeded. 26 and 7. I don't There's just too many like shitty teams this year in general in this tournament. So I feel like some of the seedings are really weird. Um, but Maryland has the best starting five in the nation. They don't have any depth, which is their problem, but I'm gonna go Maryland in this and probably a blowout, honestly.
Yeah. Um, I like seeing the Grand Canyon Antelopes in there. I think it'll be one of those really close first half games that Maryland pulls away with in the second half. I mean, Maryland is one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think it's kind of wear them down. Moving ahead to probably our most intriguing matchup from a stylistic standpoint in round one. Drake Mizzou. We got Drake, who runs one of the slowest offenses in America. Mizzou, who plays faster than anyone. I mean, Drake got the new coach from D2, got all his D2 players. He won four natties in like a 6 year span in D2 and had one of those years canceled actually, for COVID. Brought a lot of his players up with them. Interesting quote I saw from him here this week that says he would want to play a lot faster, but the reason he doesn't in the regular season is because he wants his players to practice in the half court more for the tournament, which I thought was really interesting. You know, a lot of these teams want to get out and run in the regular season, get wins, but he was more interested in preparing for the tournament, he claimed. You know, this is a tough one for me. Mizzou's a pretty good team all year long. They've been kind of hovering in that like 15 to 25 range. I mean, Drake's 30-3, and if I'm not mistaken, Drake's beat Vandy this year, and Drake beat somebody else too. They've been really good all year. Like I said, I mean, they're 30-3. Who did they beat? Oh, they beat Miami, Florida, which they're kind of ass. They beat Kansas State and they beat Vandy.
I
So
won't give them any credit on the Miami, Florida. Once their coach left,
no, they're.
pure ass.
I mean, I think that was prior to that. That was in. They won one of their championship there because they beat Miami and they beat Florida Atlantic and they beat Vandy, which Florida
Oh,
Atlantic
Vandy
and
was a 10
Miami were
seed.
both kind
Yeah.
of ass. Vandy was solid this year, but I don't know. They were kind of a team that I was actually kind of surprised was so solidly in. Um, I don't know. Honestly, this is probably one of my toughest matchups around one. And just going off pure vibes, we're gonna go with Drake.
See, this is one again where we're gonna differ because I just like those traps every single year. I'm telling you, there's always that one. We've seen it the last few years with South Dakota State. People like to hype them up, and then there's other certain schools that people will hype up. And I'm just last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, they tried saying Duke again or Drake again. I can't remember who that was. Was it against Miami or was it someone else?
I
It
can't
was a
remember
year
who that
that
was
Purdue.
against.
It was a year that we were in Des Moines, I think.
Yeah, well, didn't they say Drake last year too? Because they didn't win last year, did they?
Yeah. So I'm not falling in the trap. Mizzou was also like the worst Power Five school like 2 years ago. But
Literally last year, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I could see them being that story where, oh my God, they were one of the worst teams in basketball, and now they're out here winning NCAA tournament games. So I don't know. It's in a good location for both teams too, being in Wichita. But I'm gonna go with Mizzou in this one. Like I said, the SEC this year seems pretty tough. So I'm not falling
Well,
into the Drake trap, even though they are 30-3. They have some good wins. I don't know. Now we're gonna go on to the
interest.
next game with
I got one
your
interesting caveat for you on this game though. Drake's 57th on Ken Palm and Mizzou's actually 15th.
really.
So they're higher up than I thought they were. They got the number five offense efficiency on Ken Palm. So that's pretty interesting. Just so far, only game that we've like gone kind of off the like way different than Ken Palm is Colorado State's 42nd and Memphis is 51st, interestingly.
Hmm.
But continue on with I know one of your beloved Big 12 teams here.
I will say I was really wanting UAB to beat Memphis in the American Championship just so I could have seen some more of Yaxel Lendeborg go to work. Absolute best name in college basketball. I don't care what anyone says. Probably the best player overall, too. Let's be real with those stats. But yes, Texas Tech and my mother's pick to win the national championship before I told her that's too unrealistic. UNC Wilmington. So Paula is UNC Wilmington's biggest fan randomly. But yeah, Texas Tech. I have seen this one. A lot of people are hyping up UNC Wilmington, but I don't know. Texas Tech, I think, is too good. What was it, 2019 when they made the Final Four?
I Yeah, 2019 they made the Natty. That was against Virginia.
It was okay. I could almost see that this team going on a run like that. Um, I don't want them to, but something in my mind is like, you know what? They could maybe beat St. John's in the Sweet 16, which I would absolutely hate, but could also see them losing to Mizzou in the next round for me. So I'm gonna go Tech in this one. I'm assuming you're the same.
I'm the same. UNC Wilmington, holy hell, is the worst Ken Palm team that's not a 15 or 16, kind of by far actually. Um, they play pretty slow, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, nothing big about them, honestly. Kind of watched a little, wasn't that impressed. Tech looks really good. Tech's winning this game. Now we're moving on to probably our biggest rivalry in the first round, Kansas and Arkansas, as some might say. Um, I don't really have any stats to prove this or whatever. These are probably two of the biggest underachieving teams this year, in my opinion. I mean, Kansas preseason number one. Um, a lot of people, including myself, thought this team was going to win like 25 plus, probably like 28 games. I mean, they were a pretty solid team the last few years. They've been, what, a 3, 4 seed kind of hovering around there. Bring in AJ Storer, who did nothing. Awful.
The bench rider AJ Store.
Brought in Zeke Mayo, who's had to literally carry that team to the Big 12 tourney. Um, I know that they kind of started the year okay, and they just kind of really. I mean, it's like they started up here and they just slowly were on decline all year, and they just plummeted towards the end of the year. Arkansas has just been kind of all over. They've had some high highs, some low lows. Um, but you know what? I gotta go Arkansas here. If there's one thing I know in March, it's that if Arkansas was a 3 seed, I was picking whoever's playing them with Cal Perry there. But if Arkansas is like a 10 seed, 11 seed, when Cal Perry, it's kind of like UNC. You know, when UNC is like a random low seed, they're kind of be kind of sketchy to play. When Cal's in that low seed, he always makes a run. I mean, I think his last trip to the Natty was. Did he make it in 2014? Is that who UConn played? It was like a 8 seed Kentucky.
Yes.
So that's what I thought, where they played a really low seed Kentucky that year. But yeah, give me Arkansas, Tim.
You know that it's always great in my mind when I get to see a Kansas team in absolute shambles. I don't remember the last time that they were as low as a 7 seed in my life. Dylan Gross would be able to tell you with his Bill Self statistics that he has locked away in his brain. But I remember this game from a couple of years ago and we could have seen it and we left early that weekend. Remember that?
Yep, Mr. Musbus hopping on the table. Now he's 15th in the Big Ten or 14th.
So I'm definitely gonna take Arkansas on this, although I could totally see stupid Kansas ruining my entire March by winning this game and then also beating out St. John's. Oh my God, that would be actual hell for me if that happened. But I'm not thinking it's gonna happen, so I'm gonna pick Arkansas. I don't think I've not picked Arkansas in a single bracket that I've filled out yet. So I'm gonna go the Razorbacks. And then St. John's in this very overhyped in my mind Omaha team. Omaha's first team to ever make the tournament, and they're a 15 seed. 22 and 12 is their record in the Summit. Wow, that is pretty bad. Um, I don't actually know what any of their losses are. I could look at them right now, but it's not going to matter because you're going against Big Ricky on the other side. So give me St. John's. This is the most hype I have ever been for like a Big East team besides like probably probably Butler back in 2008. I mean, wow. that man has just turned this program around, and that's all he does is win. So, got to give Patino some love, and I'm going St. John's.
I mean, pretty easy for me. I'm going St. John's. This sets up a second round matchup of Arkansas St. John's for me between the two coaches with the highest win percentage in the tourney, like two active coaches with the highest win percentage in the tourney of Patino and Calipari. I'm taking Mr. Slick Rick, the Godfather himself, and I can't wait for the shenanigans that him and Calipari are about to pull on the sidelines.
Yeah, probably draw at least a couple techs in that game. So now we're
Oh,
gonna
they
go to
be close.
the other side of the bracket. Tomorrow, American and Mount St. Mary's, two of the probably most or least known about colleges in the entire nation. Besides the fact, I don't know if you knew this, but American University is actually the gayest campus in the entire US. I learned that
I
the
did not.
other day.
Um, Holy
It's
hell,
in
these teams
Washington,
suck, actually.
D.C., by the way.
Um, First off, I would like to say these are the 239th and 250th ranked teams in the nation on Ken Palm.
Wow.
Shout out FIU, who's somehow 252nd. Holy hell, you suck. Um, yeah, no. I'm gonna pick American in that first game. The first four just for the name American and because Mount St. Mary's reminds me of Mount Marty.
Fair.
And then I'm gonna pick Duke to not play Cooper Flag until the second half for like 2 minutes and just if there's one, I mean, I think all these 116s are gonna be blowouts. But if there's one 116 game that's gonna be like 105 to 30, it's gonna be this. I think it's gonna be a bad blow. I mean, we saw what Duke just did to Illinois a couple weeks ago. I think Duke's gonna win by like 45 in this game.
Yeah, I thought your reasoning for picking American would be because they're the gayest college in the entire nation. Is
Jeez, who do you
that
think I am? A certain other person.
ah. I really well, okay, I don't think that this 16 versus 16 play-in game is going to be nearly as good as the game was tonight with Alabama State and St. Francis. I mean, thank God we got those matches,
Mhm.
I guess, but I'm gonna go with the Mount in this one just because I want to be different from you, I guess.
Uh, I think that my favorite stat is that Mount St. Mary's is the second luckiest team and American's the fourth luckiest team
Oh,
in
nice.
America. But it's gonna be painful to watch because Americans of 364 teams, American has the 349th ranked tempo, and Mount St. Marty's is 170. So this is about to be one slow game of basketball.
Yeah, so if you're not doing anything tomorrow night, I don't know if you'd even want to tune in for that game, honestly, because it's probably just gonna be the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. I guarantee that there's a better intramural basketball game going on somewhere in the nation around colleges.
And they
Um,
both have offenses ranked below 250.
oh, good God. Well, then we're going to move on to the 8-9 matchup. This one, I think I've taken Baylor in every single one that I filled out. For some reason, Baylor's just like, I don't know if I'm more high on Baylor or if I'm like more leaning away from Mississippi State. Mississippi State is the one SEC team that I am not big on this year, besides Texas A&M. Thank you, Wade Taylor. You are the legit one reason for that. But Baylor, I remember them last year. There was something to do with them last year against like Houston or something. I was watching them in a game. They do have a few returning starters, so I think that's probably why I'm going Baylor. However, I don't think Baylor has a chance in against Duke, obviously. But I'm going to pick Baylor and then 9-8 quote unquote upset, if you want to call it that. Um, are you feeling the same way or are you going different?
No, I'm going Baylor. These are like two of the most evenly matched teams in the entire tournament, no matter what stat I look at. One was like 7-11 in quad one, and one was 7-10. They have like the exact same quad two record. One's ranked 30th in the net and 34th in the net, and the other one's 31st in Ken Palm and 33rd in Ken Palm. So like these are two extremely even teams. So I think it'll be a really good game. Um, I think I don't know. The only thing that might be a little that could sway is Mississippi State plays kind of an average level tempo, and Baylor plays one of the slowest offenses in the nation. Um, Baylor's got a pretty good offense in the half court versus Mississippi State's kind of more of a running offense. Their defenses are almost identical. I just like Baylor a little more. They got a little more experience in March, and Scott Drew is one of the better March coaches out there. You know, he had that run a couple years ago and just obliterated Mark Few and Gonzaga.
True.
Um, yeah, I like Baylor in this one. They've kind of gotten it together a little bit later in the season. I mean, they still aren't great with 19 of 14, I think, overall, but um, they got it together after a pretty abysmal start to the season by getting Gonzaga just running a train on them, basically. Um, Next up, Oregon Liberty. I'm going Oregon here. I don't hate Liberty. It's just I heard a stat earlier this week that Liberty is the most reliant team on three-pointers in the entire nation. And basically, in their games, if their threes are falling, they're gonna win a lot of them. But if their threes aren't falling, this could get ugly fast. And Oregon, I mean, I've watched some of their games in the Big Ten. They didn't really impress me on offense very much, but their defense is actually pretty legit. And I mean, they got a pretty good perimeter defense, especially is one thing I noticed when I've watched them. And I really think they're just gonna kind of obliterate Liberty. And oh yeah, Oregon, the 5 seed gets a game in Seattle.
They're press D against Wisconsin. No mention of
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about that after having to
that.
watch that just epic collapse by Wisconsin.
Yeah. I've seen this one in a lot of my friends' brackets that they're picking Liberty. I think Josh Giles had it in his. Jose also has Oregon to the Final Four, which is a crazy pull, but I'm guess we've seen more weird things happen in March, but yeah, Oregon, I didn't even realize that this game's in Seattle, but I don't think it's going to be close. Liberty struggled against Kennesaw State in their championship game, so I'm not trusting them at all. Um, so Arizona Akron then. I know Akron has been hyped up all season, just like UC San Diego has, and it would be very typical for Arizona to lose to some team that they shouldn't lose to in the first round. Cough, cough, Princeton a couple years ago as a 15 seed. But I think we want that matchup between Caleb Love and Duke too bad to be able to pick Akron here. Although I feel like if Akron drew a different 4 seed, they'd have a better chance. But I'm gonna go with Zona
Yeah,
on this one.
I I think if Akron plays Purdue, I'm picking Akron, honestly. Especially that's just like the one that's the top of my head.
Yeah,
Um, I think the problem with this game is Akron's just playing literally Akron if Akron had like five-star recruits. Arizona's just better Akron with taller, more athletic players. Arizona's only problem or pro will like biggest problem or biggest pro is the same thing, which is Caleb Love, who usually decides if Arizona's going to beat the number one team in the nation or Arizona's going to lose to some unranked team by
yeah.
himself when he just starts jacking shots. I like I said, I mean Arizona's a pretty good team. They impressed me a lot in that Big 12 tourney. I didn't think they're gonna quite make the run that they made. I figured that they would have lost, I don't know, semifinals, maybe even quarterfinals, and they just kind of won their way to that championship and even stuck with Houston for the most part. So I think they're kind of one of the hotter teams in the nation to keep an eye on, and they have that center who's like a sophomore who looked really good in the Big 10 or the Big 12 tourney. So I like that one a lot. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a high scoring game. I think Akron sticks with them for a little while, but I think Arizona's going to win like 190 or 95-85, something like that. I think it's going to be pretty high scoring, stay pretty close, but Arizona's just going to be a little too much. On to one of the best matchups of the weekend as well. BYU VCU. VCU might be the hottest non-power conference team. I mean, when you're a team in the A10 and they're talking about you might just be able to make it if you don't even win your conference, that's pretty big. And BYU has been probably a top 8 to 10 team at worst since the start of February. So this is probably one of my toughest matchups too. Um, I really, as a Wisconsin fan, love the region, but don't love the fact that we're gonna get one of these two teams in the second round. Yeah, I'm discounting Montana. Montana's worse than most 15 seeds. Um, Honestly, this is tough, Tim. Tim, who are you going with?
This one I've been torn between. Okay, I have been like the biggest hype man of BYU the past 2 years, especially after last year. I can't remember who they played. Do you remember who they played last year when they pulled off that upset?
Oh,
My mind is blanking me. But ever since I've seen that clip of that dude a few years back, shut the F up, laying on the ground. Okay. Anyway, um, I feel like I've picked BYU in more of these, which they're a very good three-point shooting team. I'm not really sure how VCU's defense is, which I know you're the statistics guy, so you could easily pull it up. But
VCU's ranked 25th in defensive efficiency.
okay. BYU, I think, is like 38% from three or something as a team. Um, so they kind of live and die by the three, as we know a few other teams do in this tournament. One thing I will say about VCU, I would have been so okay. I really wanted George Mason to win the A10 just so that they could actually get an auto bid. And I would have been so mad if George Mason did win and VCU somehow did not make the tournament in general. Oh my God, that would have drove me up a wall. But the thing is that every single time VCU has been in a tournament since they went on that run back in like 2011 or whatever, I have not seen them do anything. So I'm going to stick with BYU. I don't want to pick BYU. I'd much rather see VCU win. But as a Wisconsin fan, also, I think I'd rather play BYU than VCU. So I'm going to go with BYU in this one, even though to me it's probably the most intriguing 6-11 matchup besides the Mizzou and Drake one. But I don't know. It's definitely one of the best games of the weekend, or should be.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna go BYU. I think too. I actually looked up. BYU actually lost last year to Duquesne.
Oh, okay. It was
Um,
Duquesne that they,
I
I
couldn't
remember
remember
they were
what that
playing
game,
game.
who they played or what, but yeah, I think BYU's just a little too good. And I've already gone 2-11s already in mine. I know you've only gone with. Have you gone with any 11? Did you go with
I have
Ole
not,
Miss?
not yet.
Okay.
Next round though, or next region I will be.
Um, yeah, and then I'm going Wisconsin over Montana. Like I said, Montana, not very good. They're the luckiest team in the nation. They literally rank below actually all the 15s on Ken Palm. They rank 159th in the nation, which is 3 spots behind Nebraska Omaha. They have the 98th offense and the 251st defense in the nation. So we could see some points in this Wisconsin Montana game, especially early. I know the altitude, the quick turnaround too on Michigan part. I want to say Michigan and Wisconsin got screwed having to play not just a quick turnaround on Thursday and not getting that beloved Friday later game that I'm sure they would have loved to get. They're going to Denver, Colorado to play the highest altitude game they'll play all year, which is not great if you're already a little tired. So kind of got screwed there, but you know, I'm going Wisconsin. Montana's not very good, like I just said, and sets up a Wisconsin BYU game in the second one's going to have a lot of fireworks.
Wisconsin's just lucky that they drew possibly the most overseeded team in this tournament as a lower seed. Um, I know a lot of people wanted North Colorado to win that Big Sky. I know we both picked Montana, and yeah, being the luckiest team, they're not going to be the outlier of being the luckiest team. The luckiest team never wins anything in March Madness. That's going to continue. Wisconsin got very lucky on that part with the team that they drew. Um, this next game is one that I have gone back and forth on between Vanderbilt and St. Mary's. I'll admit I have not watched any Vanderbilt all season. St. Mary's has completely fallen off compared to what they were earlier in the year, I feel like. They've been on a slow decline, and oh, I almost want to pick Vanderbilt because I feel like they have a better chance to beat Alabama. But at the same time, I do love my beloved St. Mary's Gales. One of my favorite logos in college basketball too, so I'm gonna go St. Mary's. Even though I feel like in most brackets I picked Vanderbilt. So this is just one of those where, really either team for me could move on, but nah. I'm gonna go St. Mary's in it.
Yeah, I'm going St. Mary's too. Like I said, I personally, this is gonna go to another thing. I think the SEC is, well, honestly, they have the ability to show they're the best conference ever. I think that while they were just completely cracked in non-con, that was a few months ago. I think that some of these teams are going to start falling off early, and one of them I think does is Vandy. They haven't, I mean, they lost by what, like 9 or 10 to Texas in the first round of the SEC tourney. Um, I think Vandy more than almost anyone else in the SEC was boosted almost by the SEC. Um, like being in the SEC and just kind of knocking off like Tennessee at home. They knocked off just a couple other teams at home. Um, I guess I can look at their home record right here, but if I remember right, they were actually a lot better at home than they were on the road. Um, St. Mary's, I just really like. They don't always win a game, but gosh, when they do, they're pretty good. And just their defense is good. They play one of the slowest tempos there is. And, you know, I'm moving ahead a little. I'm picking Bam over Robert Morris. Don't really have any questions with Bam against the, against the 15. This is just not a good year for 15s. And we'll get set up with the fourth slowest team in the nation versus the fastest team in the nation in the second round, which is going to be extremely interesting to watch personally.
The only thing I have to say about the Bama and Robert Morris game is congrats, Robert Morris, on your first trip to the tournament in what, like 6 years or something. But this is who truly should have been out of the Horizon League. We love the Northern Kentucky Norse around here, so shout out the Norse. Best court. You know what? One of these podcasts we're gonna do best courts in college basketball, and you already know who my number one is gonna be. But yeah, Bama wins this one easy. Um, which sets us up for the absolute dismantling that's going to be happening. Okay, if we're looking at the 116s, I think this is the one that people said was the most likely to happen. Houston and SIU Edwardsville. This team, if you have seen this SIUE team, they are disgusting. Like they are so bad. And I know Houston is known for playing like absolute ass in this tournament, but there is no doubt in my mind that this is going to be like 103 to like 55. Like I know Houston's not really that much of a scoring team at times. They're more defensive based, but it's like ugh, this game is disgusting. There's nothing to it. Houston easy.
Yeah, and they both. This is going to be a painful one to watch with Houston's 360th tempo and SIU Edwardsville's 260th tempo. So two of the 104 slowest teams in the nation.
Yeah. Um
And yeah, I'm going Houston. No, no questions whatsoever.
yeah, didn't even need to go into that really, but wow. So then the 8-9 matchup. Once again, I think this is another overseeded team in Georgia, but Gonzaga, Georgia. I'm gonna go Gonzaga, and then it's gonna set us up for a very interesting Gonzaga and Houston matchup, which could easily be an 8-1 upset, but I really hope to God it's not. But I'm gonna go Gonzaga in this one.
Yeah, I'm going Gonzaga. I think um I saw a stat that in like the last 10 games, they're technically like a top five team. Ken Palm hasn't had a top 10 team for the entire season. Um, Honestly, I thought, before the tourney, Gonzaga was like an 8 or 9, and I really thought they kind of played themselves into a 6 or 7 there. With the kind of just the on fire they were at the end of the season. So it's a little surprised they stuck them at the 8 spot still. I mean, they were not very good out of con, outside of obliterating Baylor. But I was a little surprised they were ranked so low. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I would feel the same way on that one. And like I said, we have one of the ones here that is to me one of the overhyped teams. McNeese State. I feel like they had a lot of hype around them last year too, if I remember right. Um, I'm gonna pick Clemson in this one though, because Chase Hunter really depends on how he plays. That man can just shoot like crazy, so I'm gonna pick um, Clemson in this. Although I do want to pick a 12-5. Have I picked a 12-5 yet? I feel like
Yeah.
UC San Diego. But that looks like yeah, that's it so far. So I'm gonna stick with only one 12-5 upset this year, but give me Clemson in this one.
Yeah, actually just going back to Gonzaga for a second, I was actually really curious who they'd lost to. Um, so they lost to Oregon State and Santa Clara, really close games. They lost in a neutral court to West Virginia, which apparently was a quad too, which is kind of surprising to me. But then their quad one losses are they lost twice to St. Mary's, they lost to UCLA by 3, they lost to UConn by 6, and they lost to Kentucky by 1. So honestly, a better resume than I thought they had for being what 26 and 8 and an 8 seed. That's I mean, outside of those again, the Santa Clara and the especially the Santa Clara and Oregon State loss, I honestly am kind of surprised to see that low. But yeah, this game, I know McNeese played. Oh, who'd they play close? They played Bama really close, like within 10, and they played some mid SEC team within 10 or 15. So better than they were last year. They didn't really show anything last year. They're the trendy pick. I think Clemson's just kind of on fire and has been since January. And I think Will Wade has one foot out the door somewhere already. We had a bit of a surprise coaching announcement tonight. Not sure if you saw that with West Virginia's coach leaving to be the new Indiana coach,
I didn't see where he was
former
going, but I
Drake.
did see he left West Virginia.
Yeah, so he's going to Indiana on a 6-year deal. I thought that was a little I didn't I mean I thought Indiana was going to kind of swing for the fences a little higher, but I think it's a solid Midwest hire. Um, you know, they've been a solid program at Drake forever. West Virginia was probably better than expected this year. But yeah, going back to McNeese, I think Will Wade's got his, he's licking his chops for one of these jobs that's open now or opening up, and I think Clemson's just a pretty good team. Quick little stat break right now. North Carolina, with 4:30 left, is up by 37 on San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State was the least deserving team in this tournament officially.
This is making me feel better about not picking a Mountain West team so far.
Yeah. Um, by the way,
Um, yeah.
McNeese lost to Liberty by 4 this year.
Okay.
Lost to Alabama by 8. They lost to Mississippi State by 3. And then
Okay.
the most disgusting loss on their thing here. Actually, not actually, but South Dakota State, 80 to 73. So,
That actually is kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
Then again, South Dakota State was a weird team. They probably should be in it. I mean, they played Bama pretty close, and they had like some other like close out of con games that they lost. Montana game was disgusting to lose, but whatever. It's one of the early season games.
Their actual worst loss was by far Nickel State.
Ooh, tough. Very tough.
They also beat Rio Grande Valley 100-65, who Wisconsin struggled with.
Dude, Rio Grande Valley put together that like 1.5 weeks this season where they were just good. They
Yeah,
took, was it Houston, Wisconsin, and Creighton to the wire like within a week span or something like that. And then they must have just completely fallen off the wagon. Next game up, Purdue, High Point. Honestly, it's trendy to go High Point. But with oh, who's the big man at Purdue?
hyphenated name.
Keep
Um,
wanting to call him Trace Jackson something, but his name's not that, I don't think. But okay, first off, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, pretty good plays. I know Purdue hasn't been very good of late, but I think
Hoffman
they'll be okay
ran.
with yeah, Kaufman ran. I think they'll be okay against High Point. I know High Point's pretty solid. High Point is a legit big man, but I think Purdue should be okay in this game. They have enough experience of deep runs last year, not last 2 years. Um, but they've been a good Big Ten team. I
Shout out
don't
David
have a
Jenkins Jr.
I don't have a ton of concerns of them against High Point, but I don't know, maybe.
So you're going Purdue on that one, huh?
Yep.
I would want to go Purdue just for Braden Smith, but this is my 13-4 upset, one of them. I am big on High Point this year. They're kind of one of those trendy teams yet again that people are wanting to pick. But I do think Purdue is very overseeded at the same time. They just have names on their team. Sometimes it doesn't translate on the court. Also, I'm calling it right now. If High Point makes a run, you got to watch out for White Boy of the Year, Chase Johnston. This man only averages like 7 points a game. But I gotta tell you, this man in the opener, this the opener? Yeah, the opener. Now, this is against Coppin State, so take it how you want it. This man went 9 for 11 on shooting threes with 31 points in that game. And then he also had another game against fellow tournament team Norfolk State, which they lost to, by the way, 77-74. But he had 24 of their points on 8 for 13 shooting from threes. So if we're going to see a Jack Golke from this year, it's going to be Chase Johnston from High Point. Calling it right now. I am going to pick High Point, though. Like I said, I think Purdue is very overrated. And I know a couple of the guys in the MozPod have Purdue as their Final Four team, making it out of this region. So that'll be interesting. So then we're going to go on to Illinois and Texas slash Xavier. Okay. I don't think it matters who Illinois plays. I think they're losing. I think they're going to play Texas, but oh my God, did you just see that shot?
No, I did not.
Banking it in from like 40 feet out, 90-52 in this game now, by the way.
That doesn't
13
make me feel
20.
good about UNC. That makes me think they might go on a legit run. I don't like that.
So anyway, Illinois does not have Terrence Shannon Jr. this year. That's my main thing. That man was the most money-making man I have ever bet on last year. Over in every single game. That man's an absolute stud. I'm pissed he's on the Timberwolves now. But who are the players on Illinois now? I think all of them are irrelevant at this point. And like I said, doesn't matter if it's Texas or Xavier, I'd still pick the 11 seed in this one, the only 11-6 upset that I have. But Trey Johnson is an absolute stud from Texas as well. So I think he is going to take over that game against Xavier. So I'm going to pick them against Xavier. And then even with their 19 and 15 record, I don't care about that record because they're what like 7-2 in quad one or something. They're pretty good in quad one games. So give me Texas and give me Texas over Illinois as well.
I'm actually differing in both games. I'm going Xavier over Texas. Xavier got hot at the end of the year, put together some good games. I like him to keep it going and make the tourney, but I'm gonna go Illinois to beat Xavier. Illinois has one good freshman guard. I think he's supposed to go like top 15 in the NBA draft. Kasparas. God, I might even try to pronounce his last name. He's from Lithuania, played at FC Barcelona. I like him a lot. I think that Illinois is healthy now, and when they're healthy and not fighting influenza A like they were for a little while there, they were a pretty good team early in the season. So I like them to beat Xavier for me. Little caveat in the Xavier Texas, I think it's going to be a really close, good game, but it's basically a home game for Xavier too, with it being in Dayton. So I think it should be a pretty good game tomorrow. Hopefully better than this UNC San Diego State game
I think
was.
it will 100% be better in that game.
Next up, Kentucky, Troy. I'm going Kentucky. I don't know a lot about Troy, honestly. I didn't watch a bunch of them in the conference tourneys. I think they're no, they second best 14 maybe. I don't know. Play pretty slow, have a pretty good defense, not a very good offense. Um, I don't know. I think Kentucky is pretty good this year, and Kentucky doesn't have Cal. If Kentucky has Lamont Butler, I think he's playing again. They are a much more legit contender than when Lamont Butler's not playing, and they look like they should be about a 9 seed.
So Kentucky, you're not gonna think that they lose as a 3 seed again to a 14.
They got Mark Pope there now. It's not Calipari. I think they got a better shot.
I know nothing about Troy basketball. I just know that everyone is sitting here saying, "Oh well, they they're playing the 14 seeded or the 3 seeded Kentucky, so they have a chance." I don't know. I think it's a surprise that they won the Sun Belt. Um, what what were they? A 3 seed in the Sun Belt, I think.
I think so.
Um, so nobody expected them to come out of the Sun Belt, but I'm not expecting them to win this game either. So give me Kentucky in this one as well. Um, Not much to mention in the game for me. But the next game, UCLA and Utah State. I know we've been saying all night that want nothing to do with Mountain West teams. However, this is going to be one instance where I pick a Mountain West team. Utah State, usually they're in that 8-9 matchup, and I feel like I don't know if I pick them more or pick against them more. But this time I'm going to pick them against UCLA because when I was watching Wisconsin and UCLA, there was like that one dude, the one dude with the dreads that could shoot on UCLA. Then they had that big man too that was apparently really good, but played like absolute ass against Wisconsin. So I'm gonna pick Utah State in this one, even though I think this is just a gross matchup, and whoever wins this is gonna get bounced by Tennessee in the next round anyway. But give me
Yeah, I might
the
get ahead of you and say
10-7
Tennessee over
upset.
Wofford. Before I even go back, just want to say Tennessee over Wofford. Fletcher McGee's not walking through that door to just nail like 13 threes against someone. One first off, all-time player, all-time name, Fletcher McGee. Um, was a very trendy pick in like what 2019 March Madness, I think was when Wofford was really good. I think they actually might have been playing Kentucky. But get going Tennessee in that one, not much to say. And I'm going UCLA. They were pretty solid for most of the season. I think it's gonna depend if Utah State comes out. Utah State is one of the a top 20 offense, I think, in the nation. They kind of come out flying and swinging. I think Utah State might take it, but I'm gonna go UCLA. I feel a little more comfortable, and again, I just am a Mountain West hater.
I mean, this game should make you a Mountain West hater because my God, 95 to 68 final. Wow. I swear the last time that I looked at the screen, it was like 7 minutes left too. Did they just concede the game or what's up with that? Wow.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so Tennessee. I don't even need to mention that one. Give me Tennessee in that one as well. So that took forever, but we are done with the round of 64. So now the round of 32.
Yeah, I think this round might kind of fly, honestly. I think a lot of these are going to be semi-easy. There's going to be a couple tough ones to pick, but for instance, I'm going Auburn over Creighton. That's my first game on here. I think Auburn's just a lot better team than Creighton. I know that they're pretty weak to end the season, but I just think they'll match up well with Kalkbrenner, and Creighton just doesn't have much else to throw at you.
See, now this is one of the ones I'm going to take a little bit more time on because I'm not even 100% sure who I want to pick. I picked Louisville in the first round, and just that game being a short drive from Lexington or to Lexington concerns me for Auburn in this. I think they got a little bit shafted in that. But it's hard to bet against Auburn just because they've been the overall general consensus one team all year. And before they were the one for the longest time, I actually was going to pick them for my national championship team. But based on how they've played recently, I don't know if I want to touch them really. But I'm still going to go Auburn in this, although Louisville is going to give up a good fight, I feel like. Um, so then I know we have the next round matchup the same exact way. I think we're probably going to go different ways, though. I'm going to say UC San Diego wins this one.
Yep. And I'm
Uh, I
going Yale.
think they're good at forcing turnovers, and I don't know. I feel like the Yale would just be a one game wonder. After watching them play in that Ivy League championship, it's just like I'm less and less prone to picking them after they struggled against Cornell. But at the same time, like I said, round one, you're playing Wade Taylor. So it's like, yeah, he'll shoot himself out of the gym. We all know that.
Yeah, I'm going Yale. Again, I think they're just a more complete team and they kind of surprised me. They had a pretty good non-con. They didn't like just get obliterated by anybody. Um, that sets up for me Auburn, Yale, and we know what Auburn just hates to see coming is an Ivy League school.
That is very true.
Was that last year that Auburn or Yale beat
Last year,
Auburn?
yeah.
Didn't they? And that was like 2 years ago they lost to Princeton, right?
Yup. Wow.
Good.
Bruce
Auburn
Pearl
setting
is
up.
Bruce Pearl is shitting himself at your bracket right now.
Next up for me, I got UNC Iowa State, and this, after witnessing what I just witnessed and knowing Iowa State's point guard out, this is tough for me. I love Iowa State. They've been such a good team for the first half of the year, really. They kind of fell off in the second half when their whole team just decided to get injured, especially that one, is he Serbian or Lithuanian guy, that shooter who's just absolutely lights out. It's a tough game for me. I mean, I think Iowa State is a really good team. I'm gonna go UNC after watching what I just watched. I
Oh,
think not
man.
having the point guard stuff, and I just know what's bound to happen. And yeah, going UNC to the next round. It pains me to do this.
You're probably on to something with it, though. Um, ugh, I really don't want to pick either of these teams. I have Ole Miss and Iowa State. I feel like the smart thing would be to pick Iowa State because Ole Miss might not even make it out of the first weekend now or the first round. Yeah, we'll go Iowa State. I feel like I've gone Ole Miss in the majority of them, but I don't really trust them. That's not a big SEC school for me. Um, so then Marquette and Michigan State. This one I could easily see Michigan State struggling against Marquette. Um, I feel like the rest of it's kind of a cakewalk for Michigan State. That's why I picked Michigan State to my Final Four. Um, I could totally see them struggling with Marquette though, but I'm gonna pick Michigan State. I had never bet against Tom Izzo in March, even though he's let me down several times, but I'm gonna go Izzo and the Spartans in that one.
Yeah, I'm going Michigan State too. I think Michigan State's just a more complete team. Um, and Shaka Smart's made like what one Sweet 16 since he's been at VCU in like 2011. So I don't have a lot of faith in them making it. I think Marquette has a couple good scores, but Michigan State is just a more complete team. And we know how much the NCAA, if my bracket comes true and we're getting UNC Michigan State, it's gonna be pretty hype. Next up, Florida UConn. I really want to go UConn here. I can't trust that UConn's gonna put together a full game. Florida might be the most complete, hottest team in the country right now, and I have zero faith in UConn doing more than putting together a half of a game.
Yeah, that's it's a fair assessment because any other year I feel like I would have picked UConn in this, but Florida looks just so good right now, and UConn has looked very mid compared to what they were. So I'm gonna go Florida in this one as well, which right now we're not setting up for any one seeds getting upset, except maybe you in the Midwest region, I believe. Um, then Memphis and Maryland. I'm gonna pick Maryland in this one. Um, it could easily be Maryland and Colorado State instead. Who knows? But I think Maryland has a good chance. Like I said, they are literally the most complete starting lineup I've seen in college basketball. Also, if you're not listening, One Shining Moment's playing in the background right now.
Uh,
Um, yeah, it's officially March, huh? But yeah, I'm gonna pick Maryland against Memphis.
yeah, I'm going Maryland too. Maryland's a lot better team, and there's no better name in college basketball than the Crab Five. I got Drake versus Tech. I'm going Tech. I think Drake's a pretty solid program, good program, but we've kind of talked. Tech's been really good all year, and I don't think it's much of a game.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I could see Mizzou giving Tech some issues, but at the same time, I feel like Texas Tech's just too good of a team. Mizzou is just a very iffy SEC team to me. It's hard to say if they even beat Drake, like I said, but Mizzou has also beat Florida, so if they did beat Tech and happen to beat either Arkansas or St. John's, they would have a good shot at beating Florida again, I feel like. Just those teams that are in the same conference, I never want to trust that to begin with because they played a few times throughout the year. They know each other. But yeah, I'll go Tech in this one. And then the battle of the great coaches here. I'm gonna go St. John's though. Nothing makes me want to pick against St. John's at this point. Anything that Rick Pitino's saying. So I'm gonna go the 2 over the 10 in that one.
Yeah, I'm going St. John's over Arkansas too. I think Arkansas is just really inconsistent, and well, I think we can put together a game in Kansas. I have a tough time seeing Arkansas beating St. John's. Although that game is going to be an absolute defensive battle because Arkansas has actually been a pretty good defensive team, but their offense is abysmal at best. Moving into Duke Baylor, I'm not even going to spend much time on this. I'm picking Duke. Baylor solid. Duke's on another level when Cooper Flake's playing. Cooper Flake will be healthy by Saturday.
Yeah, I'm also going
Okay,
Duke. No
even if he's
explanation
like,
behind it.
he's probably gonna be like 85% for the rest of the tournament, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Then we're gonna have a former Pac-12 matchup between Oregon and Arizona. I just don't know enough about Oregon to pick them, so I'm gonna go Arizona in this one, setting up for a great or possibly horrible Caleb Love showing in the round of 16.
Yeah, I'm also going Arizona over Oregon. I think Oregon's pretty solid, pretty good defensive team. I think Arizona's just kind of on clicking right now. They got the 7 foot center. They got like two other 7 footers that semi play on that team, and they have some good wings too. And when Caleb Love's clicking, that team can beat anyone. But even if he's not, I think they have enough to beat Oregon. Sets up Wisconsin BYU, which is probably one of the most intriguing games of this entire round of 32. I hate as a Wisconsin fan they have to go up against BYU or VCU. I don't honestly know. I think Wisconsin's a better shot against BYU because they're just kind of better BYU. I think there's a lot of similarities between the teams. I think it's going to be a really high scoring game, but I think Tanje is going to be too much and Wisconsin wins like 90-80 or something like that.
Lots of three balls from both teams for sure in this game. Just depends on who makes more and who misses more. Like you said, Tanje, he's that man is unstoppable when he's on, and he can also be a free throw merchant if he has to be. And you got Blackwell too. Blackwell can just sneakily be good as well, and even Big Steve Crowell, he can come out of nowhere, or even Nolan Winter. Any of the guys on Wisconsin can really score, so I'm gonna go Wisconsin. No personal bias involved, obviously. Um, but yeah, not loving that potential VCU or BYU matchup for them. Then I'm gonna go St. Mary's and Bama. I want to pick St. Mary's, but I'm probably gonna go Alabama. I don't think St. Mary's gonna be able to keep up with Alabama's pace. Um, so yeah, I'll just go Bama. No really other explanation. And I don't want to see Wisconsin play St. Mary's again like we saw in the Pentagon in what, 2019, 2018. No
Yeah, I
thanks.
think that was 2019. Yep.
Yeah, no thanks. Don't want to do
Yeah.
it again.
Yeah, we got St. Mary's Bama, which is literally the greatest contrast of styles we can get in this tournament unless we get like a Bama Drake Natty. The 359th fastest team versus the fastest team. Bama the number 4 offense, St. Mary's the number 8 defense. Bama's kind of mid defense versus St. Mary's kind of mid offense. Great style matchup. Honestly, really intriguing matchup. No Grant Nelson doesn't really hurt Bam. I feel like until he to the Sweet 16 as much, which he could be back against St. Mary's. It's kind of questionable. I don't think he's gonna play until Sweet 16. Um, Having said all that, I'm going St. Mary's. I do this every year. I fall in the St. Mary's trap. I get fall too much in love with the fact that they're a good half court offense that has a great defense. There's just something I don't like about this Bama team when I watch them. I don't. I think it's just their tendency to just start playing like almost street ball. They just start chucking and they just start doing some really random stuff. And I think that's just not going to really work out well against St. Mary's. It's a really intriguing matchup because Bama's able to run. I think they run St. Mary's out of the court before we're even at halftime. But if Bama's out here doing kind of their typical Bama shenanigans and they're missing the shots and not rebounding very well, I think St. Mary's controls the pace really well and really frustrates Bama.
Yeah, I
Moving on to
could see the same exact thing happening in that.
Yeah, and that's my first one or two to go on down. Moving on to Houston Gonzaga. We talked about last time we got to Gonzaga that Gonzaga actually has some pretty good losses for at least five, if not six, if you count West Virginia, who's I don't think West Virginia on a neutral court's that bad of a loss, personally. Especially it was early season West Virginia when they still had Tucker, DeVries, and that's when West Virginia was actually looking really damn good. Um, I think it's a really intriguing matchup here. Gonzaga's been to the Sweet 16 in 9 of the straight years. Um, I think honestly, there's a really, really good chance whoever wins this game is probably Final Four bound because I don't see much in this side of the bracket that's really going to stop them. As good as Gonzaga is, though, I'm going Houston. I really like Houston this year. This is probably the first time that Houston has had some shooting. Houston's typically had just absolutely abysmal shooting and still found a way to get to like the Elite Eight most years. And I think they're gonna get pushed pretty damn hard by Gonzaga in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if we would get like an overtime game, but I think Houston's gonna pull it out.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way. I know last year we picked Houston unanimously and did not go very well, but I have picked Houston about every one of my brackets, and this is the one game that really scares me for them until probably the Elite Eight. But I don't know. There's just nothing on this Gonzaga team that really actually truly does scare me on paper. So I just feel like Houston returned enough starters from last year and everything um, to still be good, and especially LJ Cryer. I love LJ Cryer, I always have. Manuel Sharp's a good one too. But I'm gonna go Houston. And then Clemson and High Point for me. Who I know this is Clemson and Purdue for you, but I am very tempted to pick High Point. Ugh. Although last year I was so convinced that Clemson wasn't going to win a game, and then they made that run to like the Elite Eight. So I'm going to have to pick Clemson here again, unfortunately, even though ugh, I don't know. Besides like Chase Hunter, I really don't think that they're that good of a basketball program. But I will pick them against High Point as much as I want to pick High Point and have High Point be that miracle uh lower seed that makes a run.
Yeah, as much I mean, I think Clemson and Purdue are actually really similar teams this year. Both seem to have a lot of solid players. Purdue probably has more good players compared to Clemson, but Chase Hunter's on a just an absolute different level when it comes to scoring. I mean, I like Braden Smith a lot, but I think Braden Smith needs a Zach Edey, like a just a dominant big, whereas he needs like a Tanjay, a dominant scorer beside him. I don't think he's gonna do it all himself. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I honestly think he could do it all himself because he kind of blows by people, but I'm going Clemson. They've been a lot hotter. I think they're just a lot better of a team right now. And Chase Hunter's just really damn good. This sets up Illinois, Kentucky for me, Texas, Kentucky for you, I believe.
Yep.
So SEC showdown for you. Um, this would be a really intriguing game in Milwaukee if it's Illinois, Kentucky. Um, I'm gonna go Illinois, I think. Like I said, I really like them when they're healthy. They just haven't been healthy in quite a while. This will be the healthiest they've been since probably the start of the year. I don't love Kentucky. I mean, I like they are a much better team with Lamont Butler playing, especially at point. But I really like that Illinois team when they're kind of clicking, and I feel like Illinois is either gonna lose to that Texas Xavier winner or they are gonna make the Sweet 16.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Shout out Brad Underwood, by the way. I usually don't bet against that man, but him refusing to shake hands with Wisconsin just to try to get them sick when they were on their hot run. Got to shout him out for that. Um, this is going to be really ballsy if Texas doesn't win tomorrow, but I'm going to go Texas over Kentucky here, slash Texas Xavier. I'd pick either of them over Kentucky probably. Um, Kentucky, I don't know. They'll win their first round game, but I don't think that they should be a three seed in general. So, and then Texas, like I said, quad one, they're a very good team. So, give me Texas in this one, which will take me to Utah State, Tennessee. You're UCLA, Tennessee. I don't think it matters for either of us. I'm going Tennessee. Uh,
Tennessee.
Tennessee's also a great defensive team. So,
Yeah, Tennessee doesn't have problems historically until they get to the Sweet 16. They kind of abuse people basically until they get to the Sweet 16. And we are both of us one step closer to seeing a Houston, Tennessee Elite Eight with the slowest brawl of a basketball game
also the fact that one of those teams is actually not going to like choke and is actually going to make the final four.
until Gonzaga comes out here and decides it's their
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it's gonna have to
So
be Gonzaga or Clemson. I don't think anyone else is doing it in that side of the bracket.
yeah. So then for me, it's Auburn, UC San Diego. I'm obviously going Auburn, but I know you You know, Bruce Pearl is shaking in his boots at your bracket right now. Are
I
you
know,
going with the upset from last year?
I know Bruce Pearl is literally shaking right now, thinking of having to play an Ivy League team. Um, he's undefeated against other teams in the brackets the last 2 years because he hasn't won a game. But I'm going Yale. I gotta keep the meme alive. I'm gonna be honest. I don't
Wow.
think I would serious. I don't know if I would do it if it was UC San Diego. I think Yale. They're gonna make the run to the Elite Eight. They're gonna be everyone's favorite Cinderella. If this was probably any other ones other than Auburn, I'd pick um probably pick the 1 seed. But this is also the matchup of the two teams from last year. So I mean, you'll have Auburn wanting revenge, but also maybe being a little sketched out seeing Yale out there. I got North Carolina, Michigan State here. This is where it ends for North Carolina.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do it.
No, no, I already got Yale going. I can't have UNC Yale with one of them making the Final Four. Um, Michigan State, they've just been solid all year. And the way this bracket sets up, it's just so they can kind of chug themselves along to an Elite Eight pretty easily, honestly. They'll get pushed by Marquette. If Iowa State or UNC doesn't really matter, Ole Miss, they'll get pushed, but they just keep finding a way to chug along and win 75-65. I think they're going to keep doing it. And Tom Izzo's going to be licking his chops to see an Ivy League team. Wait, in between him and his beloved Final Four, he's been waiting forever to make.
Yeah, I have Iowa State, a reluctant Iowa State pick from the last round, and then Michigan State. I'm picking Michigan State in this. Like you said, Tom Izzo. Me, on the other hand, he's not licking his chops at having to play Bruce Pearl, but um, you know, it's still Tom Izzo. Come on now, you gotta roll with him.
Hey,
That's
hold up. What? The Elite Eight is played on 329 and 330, so Mr. March can still win. Tom Izzo, though, is looking at that 4-5 Final Four date and shaking in his boots.
Facts. All right, so then Florida and Maryland. You know what? I'm gonna be different from the rest of the nation right here, and I'm gonna go Maryland. Give me Maryland.
I like the
Fate,
pick.
fate of humanity on the line. Give me the Terrapins because, like I've said again and again, best starting five of the nation. Florida, I don't know. I told myself that I would not trust them, and I've said that with a lot of SEC teams this year. But now that everyone's like rallying behind Florida, it makes me want to steer away from them even more because the expectations are high for them. And this Maryland team has just been a sleeper team that nobody has really talked about the entire year, I feel like. And I feel like they're in a good position as a 4 seed in general. So I'm going to go Maryland in this one in a massive upset, probably quote unquote the biggest upset of the tournament since Florida is like what the number 3 pick or 2 pick on all of ESPN brackets to win
I
the
think they're
championship now.
two.
They're two now. Okay.
I think they are two behind
Like
Duke. They might
Duke's
be
one,
behind
Florida's
Auburn
two, and
too.
Auburn's three, or vice versa.
Yeah. I'm going Florida here. I want to go Maryland. I think Maryland's going to go as far as that starting five can get them, and if they gas out or just get beat down or have to sub, foul trouble, anything, they're going to be run into trouble. Their bench isn't very good. But I think I think Maryland's starting five can easily get them Sweet 16. After that against Florida, it's just tough. Florida, I mean, I I don't know how. I just feel like everyone just missed on Florida heading into this year, where they've just kind of been this. They haven't been like an absolute juggernaut all year, but they've been just pretty damn good all year. I mean, they're 30-4. They just kind of chugged along in the SEC. They bring 3 people over 6'9" off the bench. Um, the only thing that worries me about Florida, like this is just going back to them winning it all. They don't really have a star player. Every team's kind of had one person. Even UConn 2 years ago, you knew Sonogo was really damn good. And you knew they brought off the bench. They brought oh, what's his name? Who's that big ass dude from UConn last year. I can't remember his name right now for some reason. Um,
Um, oh my God.
oh, what's his name? Klingon.
Yes, Donovan Klingon.
Yeah, and Klingon was just impossible to score on. I mean, they had Tristan Newton, they had Andre Jackson. It reminds me a lot of UConn in a way with his Florida team, but there's just something kind of lacking, I feel like. And I think it is because Klingon just is, or not Klingon. Sonogo was just kind of a star player a couple years ago. I got Florida over Maryland, but I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be tough to win the Natty. Also, no first year coaches won the Natty outside of Kevin Ollie since God, what was it? Like I said, 1960 something. And
Yeah.
Kevin Ollie and that UConn team are just like the ultimate outlier in every stat for college basketball, basically. Texas Tech St. John's is going to be a great game. You got the hardest playing team in the country against probably one of the best teams in the country in Texas Tech. This is a tough one for me. I really, really want to go St. John's, but it's hard to pick against Tech. But you know what? Screw it. Give me St. John's. I love to see Rick Pitino come through. He's the best coach his statistically in the tourney, and I don't know. There's just something every time I watch that St. John's team this year. They no team plays harder, and they have actually a couple legit good players. They just are god awful at shooting threes.
I saw a pretty sick edit of them the other day, and it was of Rick Pitino just saying last year during when he lost to Dan Hurley, just awakening a fire in his eyes, basically. And that man has just been on a freaking generational tear with this St. John's team. I mean, they're 30 and 4, and what are they, like AP number 6 or 5 or something?
Yeah,
Um,
number one defense in the country.
it's it's too hard to pick against them for me, although this is going to be probably one of the best games of the tournament for sure. But I'm going to go St. John's in this one, which sets up for a pretty intriguing Elite Eight on that side for me. Then Duke and Arizona. Ooh,
This is a
what
tough
Caleb,
one.
what Caleb Love are we going to see?
What Caleb Love are we gonna see? How healthy is Cooper Flake gonna be with another week off by this point? I mean, this will be what, about 10 days from now, possibly 9, 10 days from now. So he'll have a little bit more heel on the ankle. He'll probably be closer to 90 to 95% than he was this first weekend, which they don't really need him. Um, for with Arizona, I don't think there's a team on that side of the bracket, let alone the Midwest, that matches up better with Duke. They have size. They lost to Duke by 10 or 11 early in the season, but that was when Arizona was much worse. I mean, we saw that team kind of get blown out in Wisconsin. Um, and like we've said this entire time, I mean, Arizona has the size, they have the wings, they have the shooting. It's gonna come down to Caleb Love, and is he going to keep being Duke's number one enemy, or is he gonna redeem himself in their eyes for beating them in that Final Four a couple years ago, and they should have won the Natty in Coach K's final year? I got Arizona. I don't know what it is with that team when I was watching them in the Big 12 tourney, but they look really damn good. They match up so well with Duke. And if Cooper Flake isn't at 100%, and I don't think that their six man, can't remember his name, the center, is playing either, they're not going to have as much depth. Flake's not going to be able to play nearly as much or as hard on that ankle because as much as they're chasing a natty here, I don't think Shire is going to put him in enough harm's way to just absolutely obliterate his ankle before the NBA. And I think Caleb Love comes out and scores like 35. So give me Arizona.
I'm going to be the same way on this one. I never trust Arizona in March in general, but if there is a year, it's going to be this year, but that'll be the end of the road for them. They're just going to help us out as Wisconsin fans and beat Duke, and then we're going to call it good from that. Wisconsin, Bama. Wisconsin, it really depends on how John plays, and I don't know. Like you said, no Grant Nelson would be big for Bama, so or terrible for them. So I'm gonna pick Wisconsin to set up a Wisconsin and Caleb Love rematch from earlier this year.
And the Wisconsin, Arizona. I mean, they seem to meet quite a bit in March Madness.
True.
I'm going Wisconsin over St. Mary's in mine. Um, Wisconsin just plays a lot more balanced and under control than Bama, so I think they'll match up a lot better with St. Mary's. I think it'll be a low scoring game, like a 70-55, 70-60 game. I mean, but I think Wisconsin's kind of shown this year they can, while they kind of prefer to run up tempo, there's been games that they've ran pretty half-courty and have ran a lot more controlled. Not like Bama, who just literally runs fast breaks and just can't score if it's not in the fast break. So I'm going Wisconsin to the Elite Eight there. Sets up Wisconsin, Arizona once again. Um, Wisconsin's kind of had Arizona's number the last 15 years or so in March Madness. It feels like 20 years. Next up, you got Houston, Clemson for me. I think they have the same
Same.
thing.
Yep. As much as I wanted to pick High Point, Chase Hunter exists.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I think that's why this game's going to be pretty damn close too. I think Chase Hunter's going to keep Clemson in it. I just don't think Clemson is enough for Houston. I think if Houston gets by Gonzaga, they're going to just cruise to the Elite Eight there, no matter who they get. I just don't see them getting pushed much.
Yeah, I just think that this Houston team is better than the team was last year. I know we both picked them for the championship, but there's just not really anything besides three-point shooting that like is sticking out at me. It's terrible for them. So I'm gonna pick Houston. Then I have Texas and Tennessee, the battle of the orange teams. You have Tennessee and Illinois, don't you?
Yep, the
Also,
battle of the orange teams.
so even though Texas had a miraculous run, this is where it's going to end because the defense of Tennessee is going to be too much, which is going to set up for a great Elite Eight matchup for me between Tennessee and Houston. Um, what are you feeling? Is that the end of the
I
road?
got
Are you fighting Illini?
Yeah, fighting Illini are pretty good. Tennessee's just a lot better. Um, you know what? I want to break down in my Elite Eight here. We got two Big 12, two Big 10, two SEC, one Big East, one Ivy League for me. I do think that realistically Auburn probably could should beat Yale, but even then, I think the points kind of being made that I want to make is that I only see three SEC teams tops making the Elite Eight no matter what bracket I have. I think they're just gonna kind of run out of juice like we've seen any other conference that's been considered the greatest conference of all times done in the past outside of I mean, they might have the champ, but it's pretty rare that conferences are considered the best conference of all time. I think it's like of the five conferences considered the best of all time, none of them have had the champion. So,
Yeah. Let's see. What do I have? Wow, I went Big Ten homer on this. Three Big Ten teams, one Big East, two SEC, and two Big 12. Let's see. So Auburn and Michigan State. Oh, honestly, kind of two overrated teams in my opinion, but at the same time, that whole region is just a gauntlet in general. I remember watching that when it was announced on Selection Sunday, but I'm gonna go with good old Tom Izzo in this one. Bruce Pearl's worst enemy besides Cason Ringenberg with his bracket. Um, Michigan State finally going to make the Final Four again. So, yeah, not much else to say. Jace Richardson's a baller. John Broome is obviously a big baller too, but I'm going to pick Michigan State because of Jace Richardson in this one.
I got Michigan State, Yale, some good Michigan State. That's all I gotta say. Yale, the magic will come out one more time against Auburn. It will not come out against Michigan State. Michigan State will probably win by like 35 at this point. We see it all the time with Cinderellas. They make their little run to the Sweet 16, and unless they're Loyola Chicago or VCU, they just basically die. Next up, I got Florida St. John's. St. John's is running into the hottest team in the country, or St. John's the hottest team in the country. Really good matchup. Both really good defenses. Both play pretty fast tempo. Florida has the number one offense efficiency in the country, according to Ken Palm. It pains me a lot to do this, but I'm going Florida here. St.
Uh,
John's has a really good team. I just don't know if they have enough dudes to beat Florida.
that's a fair assessment. I have Maryland and St. John's. Battle of red teams here, not orange. Um, uh, well, low key want to pick Maryland, but God, I don't want to be such a Big Ten homer. So I'm gonna go St. John's just because I feel like St. John's might low key lose in the second round or something, though. Like everyone's been hyping them up all year. Rick Pitino would have an absolute aneurysm on the court or in the press conference if that happened. So don't want to see it happen, but it would be kind of funny to see it happen. Um, I'm gonna pick St. John's in this, so I think Maryland doesn't have the bench to beat them. Although neither team really is that full, I feel like. But I want a Michigan State and St. John's Final Four. So then we go on to Wisconsin and Arizona for both of us. Got to be an absolute homer and pick Wisconsin. If the past remains true, Wisconsin should win this one because they're usually pretty good against Arizona.
Yeah, I think they beat Arizona. I think it's a really good game. Like they've always been good games, close game. Got Wisconsin winning. Houston, Tennessee in a battle of just painful teams to watch. It's gonna be a bruiser. It's gonna be like 120 possessions in the entire game. It's gonna be 62 to 55. I got Houston.
62 to 55 might be generous for that. I might I might go like 52 to 48 or something for 100 total points in the game. I'm also gonna go Houston though. Um, to me, it's not like Tennessee has Dalton Connect from last year who can just like they obviously have very good players on that team, but I'm just falling into the trap once again with Houston, and that will make my Final Four Michigan State, St. John's, Wisconsin, and Houston.
We got three of the same four. My only difference is Florida. This is not good, Tim. We did this last year. Our brackets were ass.
You're telling me we're not going to be in the 99 percentile?
We'll find out. We're gonna have to make up a little ESPN bracketology just for these two brackets again and see what happens. I'll go first. Michigan State, Florida. I think Florida wins. I just don't think anyone impresses me much in the is that the East?
Uh,
The
uh, yes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone just really impresses me very much in the East. I think someone's gonna come out of there. For all we know, it's gonna be UC San Diego or Yale.
But
Someone's
wait,
got to come
that's the
out of there.
South, I guess.
Okay, yeah, okay.
South.
Someone's got to come out of there. Um, yeah, I honestly don't know what to say. Then someone's got to come out of there. It's gonna be ugly, and yeah.
Well, as much as I would love to pick the beloved Spartans in this, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to ride the Red Storm in this one and pick St. John's, which they're probably gonna, like I said, if anything, if I pick them to the championship, they're probably going to lose in the round of 32. But St. John's is going to be representing that side of the bracket for me. I would just absolutely love to see this. This is more of a what do I want to see than what I think will happen. So I'm gonna go St. John's. Not really any explanation, but Tom Izzo, this game is in April, so your time's up, buddy. Um, so then Wisconsin and Houston. Should I
Oh,
do what I want or what I think is gonna happen?
this is where I want to talk myself into Gonzaga because if I have Gonzaga making this run, I think Wisconsin can win. I don't think Wisconsin's beating Houston. I got Houston, Florida in the championship.
I got Houston and St. John's. As much as you know what? Maybe I should just pick Wisconsin. So then, like, if Houston does win, I can not look like a guy that costed them two championships 2 years in a row. But yeah, St. John's and Houston. I'm gonna have to go Houston again. There's nothing I don't like. There's nothing I do not like about Houston. So the Houston Cougars are once again my national champions.
Unfortunately, same. After walking through this bracket,
Ah!
2 years in a row we've walked
Did,
through this. We
did
could have
we not learn from
just
last year?
we could have just put the video out from last year. There's only 6 teams that can win the Natty if we take all the Ken Palm and top 12 stats that have proven every championship except for Kevin Ali and you and UConn, who just once again proved they've hit everything. So if I get Houston, Florida, I have to go Houston. They check every box. They were top 12 or was it top 10 in week 12? They're 21st in offense and 31st in defense. They check every box, and honest to God, they have the easiest path outside of Gonzaga, I think.
I would also have to agree. It's just
And
uh
Dalton Connect is not walking through that door for Tennessee. Um, and I think Wisconsin has the offense. I don't know. I just don't think they can quite match up with Houston. And then I just think again Florida's lack of one star player. I got Houston winning 82-75.
well, I've got Houston beating St. John's 76.
That better be like 56-46.
We're gonna see like a 20-point game out of LJ Cryer alone. So we're
That is
gonna
the number
see.
one and two defenses in Ken Palm by actually like 2%.
You know what? Sometimes you got to be the outlier. So I'm gonna go 76 to 68 in that one. Houston winning it. Um, yeah, I can't believe we just spent however long on here just to have the same exact. Although I will say, wasn't it like Houston and Baylor last year, something random?
Yeah, it was a little more random, I think, than I have two 1 seeds, a 2 and a 3 in my final four. You have, was it two twos, a 3 and a 1? You have the one winning. Not that shocking this year. It's a chalky year. Chalky teams are gonna win.
Yeah. Well,
And the SEC is not going to win the championship. We know that much already.
true.
Sorry to SEC homer Chris. I know he'll be pretty disappointed to see his beloved Florida.
True, very true. Well, I'm sure that we're gonna do one once opening weekend is over, and then we're gonna see how ass these brackets are of ours. Although I think after opening weekend, then we still might have something intact. I definitely think the region with UC San Diego and Yale will come to fruition. I literally think both of those teams are gonna upset. So that'll be the lowest. The lowest seed that I have is in the Sweet 16. Yeah, it's San Diego, I think. 12
Yeah,
seed.
mine's Yale.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate if anyone was actually out there watching. We'll see. Trust me, we actually do know ball somewhat.
Just not when we do these.
Don't watch last year's video. It's a waste of your time. This one might be too, but all right, well, we will see you guys next week for the round or the Sweet 16.